please hit the subscribe button for more content.
Hello everyone, welcome to this video from footballbetdata.com. Chris here. I'm conscious we haven't really done much on the football, and now that the domestic seasons are just about wrapping up, we are coming into the summer seasons, and what that means for most people is unfamiliar leagues, unfamiliar teams, but still the opportunity to trade bets, analyze data, whatever it is that you want to do with the output. So the video today, it's come on the back of a couple of requests from people wanting to know how best to use the data and how we can apply some formulas, pivot tables, those sorts of things, some basic stuff we've done in other videos. I'm saying basic. I'm assuming that most of you are either familiar already or have watched some of our previous videos that help with these sorts of things. But if not, don't worry. The first video, you can watch this and we're going to take you through how you can build this database in Excel and how you can use it to identify value. Okay, so what we're going to do is first of all navigate to the web page, which I have done. Now, there are two main ways you can get data out of our website: the data dashboard, which gives you enhanced filter control. So if you want to look at filtering things by using our score predictions, odds ranges, for instance, and specific years and months, you can do that through the data dashboard. Alternatively, if you just want unfiltered data, then you can do that through the fixtures and results page, as we have on the screen here. So you just see less filter options, really. And what we're going to do, we're going to output the two Swedish leagues, and we're going to output the last sort of 12 years worth of data, really, results from these leagues by selecting all of these months. I know nothing really of these Swedish leagues. We're going to send it to Excel, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to open up the Excel document once it's all downloaded, and we're going to start creating our database and showing you how you can use it. Okay, so once you've got your download exported and opened into Excel, it will look something like this. So like I said, we've got the last 12 or so seasons worth of data from the two Swedish leagues here. You can filter it, see all of the information that's available to you, which is all brilliant and really useful. But what we're going to do is adapt and use these helper columns that I've referred to in several videos prior to this one, just to help us. And what I'm going to do first of all, now I'm going to apologise in case there's any background interference in terms of the video today. It is one of those days where, one of those 3 or 4 days that we get in the UK where it's swelteringly hot, so all windows are open. So if we do pick up any external background noise, then I do apologise. So what we're going to do is band together some of these odds. Okay. Now, the way I'm going to band them is purely down to my preference. You can do these however you wish. There's no rhyme or reason, really. I'm just grouping together common odds bands. And like I said, you can do these however suits yourself. I'm going to just keep the test of the alphabet for me here. I'm going to go down to Y, ref in there. Okay, so let's put in the odds ranges. So we're going to go 1.52, 2.53, 3.54, 4.5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Now, like I said, it's up to you. You can split these out into whatever range you choose that meets your need. You don't have to do this at all. It's purely me just demonstrating how you can do this in Excel to group together a series of games by the price. And that should cover all of those. Now what we can do in combine is just do concatenate, and we can concatenate the reference with the min. We can separate that out, and then we can just click down. So there we have odds ranges. That's not worked, is it? Let's put this in here. That's converted it to text. That was the issue there. Oh dear. Here we go. Right, there we go. Now you can drag that down. So you have your combined reference with your odds ranges in there, so you can see those quite readily. So we'll go back to the main data tab, and actually we can rename this one reference. And the first thing we can do is create these helper columns. So first of all, what we're going to do is use the home range, and we can put in the draw range, away range, and then we can do the same for Betfair home, Betfair range, draw, Betfair range, and away, Betfair range. Now the Betfair odds only became populated in our database from around 2022, June, July 2022. So we've got a couple seasons worth full Betfair exchange odds. We've obviously got data going back 10 years prior to that, so we're going to use both in here. And again, it's up to you which ones you use, if you use any. But I'm going to show you how we can generate these ranges. So what we want to do is use VLOOKUP, and again, there's many ways you can do this, but VLOOKUP is one of the easiest. And we're looking at the average odds in here, and we're going to just look at this fixed table. Now I can press F4 on mine, which locks these in with these dollar signs. You may not have that as a shortcut, but essentially putting dollar in front of the column and the row, lock that. So it means you're only focusing on this. So when you're calculating large rows of formula, it cuts down on processing time because it's only looking at this grade rather than the whole column, which the majority of it is blank. And then we want index number 3, and we want to put false in here or leave it blank, because true is where it only makes an identical match. Now this is a fuzzy match, so we're saying nearest to it by leaving that as false. And you can see here it's populated now all the way down these ranges. So for this first game here, which is Elfsborg-Djurgården, the odds range is, or the home odds were 1.65, so that is in the range 1.5 to 2. Now we can do the same for draw and away, and again I'm going to take a little shortcut here. It's the simplest way to do it. Just change it to draw, populates all the way down, change this to away, because there's nothing else in the formula that needs changing. And then we can do the same for Betfair. I just need to check what the BFX modes. It should actually give you the option here. You can select it. See, it's come up. Now these are going to error out because of the years that I didn't have it. So we can put an if error statement at the beginning, then paste the formula in, and if it's an error, we can put in a blank cell. And we'll do the same for the draw. Betfair draw, Betfair away. Okay, so what's that? A minute or two is taken, and we now have games banded by odds ranges. Okay, in helper columns. That's how you can do that. Very simple, very straightforward. And then what we're going to do is look at game state. So something that people have asked from time to time is, how do we analyze what the score is X at point Y in a game? What's the likelihood of the game finishing in a draw, or a certain amount of goals? Now to do that, you need to break out a formula. We've shown you how to do this in other videos, where you split the goal times columns into 12 separate columns. So all of these times are in individual columns, which is fine and it works. But if you wanted to add data to this database, then you have to do that every time. So it can be a bit of a nightmare. There is an alternative way, using a formula. Now this formula is quite complex, so I am going to bring it over and show you how we enter it into this database and what it does. Now essentially what it will do is, there's a bit of substitution, removing out the spaces which separate the goal times, Then there's a filter XML function, and we are doing a sum basically to see how many of the goals are under a certain point in time. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to input this formula into the table, and you'll be able to copy this down and use it. Let's put home goals and away goals in here first, and then let's get this formula added in. So into home goals, let's add this formula in. Now, this is something that I had to go on to Chat GPT to get, so there's no harm in doing that. This is the formula. Now I will put it on the description of the page so you can copy and paste it, but you can check this out in the video, and if I hit enter, what it should do is tell me how many goals the home team has scored where the minute was less than 50. And there you go, you can see it's done it. Wow, how clever is that? Let's change this to general. And now what we can do is drag it over for the away team. And if we hit enter, that should populate all the way down as well. Again, we want to change those, although it is a number, it just looks neater. Let's see scores presented that way. So let's have a look at this game here. It's saying at the 50-minute mark, the score was 3-2. And you can see here that the home team had indeed scored 3 goals in that period of time, and the away team had scored actually, so that's a point. What we need to do is convert these pluses out. So it's a good job I noticed that. Let's change the plus for a dot, so it's making it decimal, so that should change to 4. Now we have converted that for newer games, but for older games it still pulls through the plus, so that's 2-4. Okay, so there you go. Every day's a school day. So essentially that was a goal scored in first half injury time, and it wasn't counting that because of the plus, it couldn't recognize it. But now by converting that plus, which is using the control find, or find and select control F, that has converted that out. So you literally control F, replace a plus with a full stop, dot, decimal point in those 2 columns. Okay, and that will convert that out. So there you go. I've learned something myself. So now what we have is the amount of home goals and the amount of away goals scored, and we can change this to score, and we can display it as a scoreline at that moment in time using trusted concatenate with the hyphen separator, the home goal one side, the away on the other, and you can see at 50 minutes in this game the score was 4-2. Okay, so we're making progress. We're starting to build up some additional columns. Now all of these, like I said, the formula pastes all the way down, so when you add in new rows to your database, the formula will follow with it. Now the reason we've got these NAs in here, these are games that haven't yet been played, so you can see there that we've got the rest of the season ahead. So let's chop these ones out. So there's an actual game tonight between Oster and Oddevold, so I'm just going to take a note of that. Might look at that a bit later on. Okay, back to the top. So we've just done the score. Now what we want to do is look at the overs. Now again, I'm adding these in, but you know, it's up to you what your area of focus is. But the more data you can get in here, you can filter it out later. Over 1.5, under 1.5, over 2.5. I'm only going to go up to 4.5, so don't worry, it's not going to go all the way up to 20 or something like that. Under 3.5, over 4.5, and then under 4.5. And we're also going to add in the both teams to score. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is just do a check, just a binary Boolean check, and we're going to use the total goals column if actual total goals. Missed it. If actual total goals is greater than 0, don't know why I put it there. Greater than 0, put a 1. If not, put a 0. Okay, and that's said. So for these games that finish with more than 1 goal, it's got a 1. Where it's finished no goals, it's put a 0. Okay, that's at full time. Now we can copy this formula and paste it all the way across here. But what I'm going to do is just change this incrementally by 1. So we're looking at more than 1 goal, more than 2 goals, more than 3 goals, and more than 4 goals. Okay, you understand? Then we can do the same for here, or very similar. So we can do greater than or equal to 0. And then we can paste this unders code in. Moving across again, this is just a quick way to do it. If we can take a shortcut, why wouldn't we do that? And then this is a 2. This becomes a 3. And finally this becomes a 4. So let's just check. So we've got 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Always good to check. And what it's saying is where there's a 1, it's a true. Where it's a 0, it's a false. So this game here had less than 4.5 goals. In fact, the first game that doesn't is our trusty friend here, the Oribo at Vidiaberg's game, which finished 4-2. Apologies for this pronunciation. Final column that I've added in, both teams to score. So we can use a combined formula here, if and. We're going to say in the and bit, and home goals greater than 0, away goals greater than 0. That's all we're looking for. Did both teams score? If they did, yes, 1. If not, 0, false. Okay, so we now have helper columns, we have a reference sheet, and we're now going to put in an analysis sheet. Now this is where we start doing the clever bits. This is the nitty gritty, if you like. This is what we've been trying to encourage and teach people, how you can use pivot tables and how you can use slicers within them. So we're going to do that again here for football, just to show you what can be done with the data that we've created. Now, in terms of how this looks, I'm just doing this sort of rough cut. If I was to have more time, we can tart this up, make them nice pretty colors, lay it out in the format that you want. That's for you to do. So the difficult bit, or the bit to teach, is how do these work, and what is going on in the background behind them. In terms of the Gucciing it up, that's, use your own color scheme, your layout, how you have them set out, displayed. I'm not going to go through teaching you how to color certain things a certain way. That's entirely your own preference. But let's get a team in here, and then the first focus is going to be the result. So let's bring result over, and just because I'm fussy, I want to have these ordered with the home win first, drag it, then the draw, now the away, and we can take out blanks. We don't want to see those. Now you might have seen that these columns are changing shape and size, which is a bit annoying. There's nothing in there at the minute, but you can stop that by going pivot table options and auto fit column width on update, untick. Okay, now what we can do is put a value in here. So we're just going to use date, because we're not going to use date for anything else, and we just want to count. So you can see here, AFC Eskilstuna, they played 135 games in this period of time, 58 home games, 58 home wins, 37 draws, 40 away wins. Okay, very basic stuff. Let's just shuffle this down a little bit, put it onto the next column, and open this up so we can use a bit of this open space here to put some filters. So let's add in a slicer, so we can put in here score. So this was the one we used to create the game state. So this was what was the score at, and we had it as 50 minutes, if you remember, hard coded in. So we're going to change that in a second. But if we look at 50 minutes, let's say AFC Eskilstuna, we're just looking at them. We've got all of the teams. We've not put a filter or slicer on them yet, but after 50 minutes of their home games, where they've been 1-0 down, they have only won 1 game. They've drawn 3 and they have lost 12. Sorry. That is how that works. Now let's get a couple more filters in. Slices. Insert slicer. Let's put the home team in. We can bung this one over here. And let's just select Eskilstuna to bring that table down. So we can put this one here. Let's have another slicer. And let's put in our home odds range. So again, this was a calculated column we put in here. And I think we'll probably make do with that for the moment. But what we can do now is start adding in a couple of other pivot tables and linking into that. So let's copy this pivot table by selecting it and plonking it here. And now what we want to do, instead of the count of date, we're going to look at the percentage of the rows, the one I'm looking for. It's already on that, almost percentage of row total. So that breaks it down as a percentage, which makes it easier to convert into an odd range. And then we can add another pivot table here. Let's take out the date function in there. Count date, let's take that one out. And let's take out result. And what we can do here is add in all of these additional columns that we calculated. So I should be able to just tick these and they should all pull through as sums. There we go. And got the teams to score, lump it in there as well. Okay. So we've got 3 pivot tables now. We just need to make sure that these are all joined. So let's select the slicer, look at the connections. They are all joined. They are all joined. They are all joined. So what it means is when I select another team within here or another odds range, they will all change in sync. So I've selected Kalmar randomly. Let's leave Kalmar on there. And then let's put in here a bit of text. So we can have team, the score at. Now this bit here we're going to look at first of all. So let's change this to 75 minutes. And what we're going to do is go back to our table here. And instead of having this 50 in here, we're going to go in and change it. So at the moment it's hard coded. We're going to change this to look at this tab and this cell. And we can put our $signs in and that should convert all the way down. Same again here. Again, just have a check through, make sure that these are pulling the same cell reference. So now, instead of being 50 minutes, it's looking at 75. Now, if I change this to 10, we go back, we should see a lot more nil-nils here. So it's all pulling off that one cell now, rather than being hard-coded. So we can change that time to whatever we want to look at, really. Let's go back to our table that we're building. So how many games? And let's put in home, draw, away, over 0.5, and 0.5. So this is going to be, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go and nick these because I've already written this out once. Let's go nick these off here and then paste it in as values, the special values. There you go, saves all that time. Okay, so we have built in a little table. Now this is where I was talking about making this neat and tidy. You know, this isn't the neatest thing. I've got pivot tables in random places. I've got slicers just dumped there. I'm starting to move this over to the right hand side. You can format this and lay it out however you need. This is just for demonstration purposes in terms of what I am looking to do. So let's say we wanted to see how many games there are. We can hard code this into here. And what we can do is, instead of saying that's going to reference Kalmar, we can reference this cell. So if this cell changes, it would be looking. So if I change this, this will say 0 now, or errors, because I'm changing the team. It's saying it's an error because it can't match to Kalmar. Okay. And again, there's multiple ways in which you can look at the data and link things in, get yourselves on the internet, chat GPT, and find out weird and wonderful things that I haven't even come across. By far from an expert, but I'm just showing you how you can look at these things and use the data to drill down. Really can. Home wins. Okay, so that's next. So what we wanted to say in here is, right, how many home wins have there been? And we can use this table because we're looking at percentage, and we want to convert this to odds, and we can format it that way so it's displaying it as 2 decimal places. Okay. Now we can do the same thing again. We can take out the Kalmar and we can reference this, and even here we can take out the home and replace it with U3. And if we just freeze the row, not the column, this should allow us to drag across and populate. There you go. So what it's saying here is these are the true odds. So we've got no filters applied apart from the team. So it's saying Kalmar with no filters applied, these are their true odds. Okay, these are the bookmaker odds. That's what I'm using. Sorry, the bookmaker odds are within the database. This is what the true odds are for games that they have played in the last 10 seasons across the 2 leagues. Now if we started looking at where they had starting odds in the bookmaker market, sorry, this is Betfair range I'm using here, home Betfair range. Let's change this slicer out actually. Let's add in the home range because we've got a bigger period of time. Let's see when they so there's not many games, so 6 games in this life cycle. Let's put in the under evens. So any games up to the evens, so 2.0, they've been performing at 26.7%. Is that cycling on here? Let me just, I don't think it is because I've just disconnected that slicer. Yeah, it's not. There we go. That's better. 1.76 is their true odds, if you like. So this is just completely unfiltered during the game. Now let's say where they've been evens at home and at 60 minutes the score has been 0-0. Select 0-0. Let's clear all. Select 0-0. And select 1-1. So I'm holding the control key and 2-2. We could put draw in here. I'll put score. There's no 3-3. Where these are grayed out, these have not happened, so you can't select them. So these are instances that happen. So where Kalmar have had a home match and their average price from the bookmakers has been below evens, and at 60 minutes the score has been either 0-0, 1-1 or 2-2. They have gone on to win 12 of those. They've drawn 9 and they've lost 6, which equates to true odds of 2.25 for the win, 3 for the draw, and then 4.5 for the defeat. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're building up a series of likelihoods from past outcomes. So you could use this. So if there is a game being played today or currently underway, and you can bracket that team. Okay, so their home odds, this is where they've sat in terms of the market. This is what the market has said that their odds are sitting at. This is the team, this is the time in the match, and this is the score in the match. You can see how that team has performed historically. Now, as I reiterate in many of these videos, especially with football, you've got to take into account other factors. So has there been a man sent off for either side, or more than one man sent off? Is that team I mean, this point I'm going to make here should be reflected in the odds, but are they resting players for whatever reason? Is there more at stake for them or more at stake for the other team? Weather conditions, That's obviously not always factored into these sorts of things. Changes in manager, suspensions, injuries. Most of that factors into the odds, but not all of it. So you do still need to factor in. And then certainly once the game's kicked off, these odds won't, because this is the starting price. If a team has gone and had two of their best players cropped through injury and they've had the goalkeeper sent off, then that's going to have a dramatic impact on the likelihood of the outcome of that game. Whereas this is pure data, so it's taken account all of those 18 games where this scenario has happened, and that is the likelihood. So 50% of the time, that's the occurrence rate of a home win. Let's move along a little bit and look at the over-unders. Okay, so very similar again. We can look at and we can do this quite easily here as well. So we can look at the sum of over 2.5. And what we can do is concatenate, instead of having this hard-coded, we can concatenate it. Now, a good way to do this, I'm just going to show you in principle here, is if you're not sure what the formula is, just write it out in another cell and then bring and copy it in. So what we're saying is the concatenation is sum of, with a space, and the sum of 0.5. So that's what we want to bring over, and we can freeze the row. Now into our pivot table calculation here, the get pivot data, we can replace that with the concatenation. Just remember to take out that equal sign, and that will give us the 15. Now if I drag that over, that should give us a 3. So that just saves time. It's just economical. Now what we want to do is then divide that, and we can, again, let me just switch this out. Just makes it easier, makes it more robust, more dynamic. And let's say we're going to divide it by number of games. Again, let's take out Kalmar, reference it here. So it's saying 83% of the time of this situation, the score at 60 minutes is 0-0. 83% of the time there will be another goal. And if we want to convert that to an odd, we can do the 1 divide and then put this in brackets, and that equals 1.2. Okay, and we can drag this all the way along, and where we've got errors, we can account for that because that's never happened. We can put if error, and because it's never happened, we can put that as 1,000, the highest odds that you'll get on the exchange. So that's the opposite of the 1 is 1,000 or 1,001 really. You should put, let's just change that here, 1,001. So that's how you can very quickly create your own game state. Let's move this over just to make it a bit more visible on the screen. You can change this around. It's all dynamic. You can just remember to refresh your pivot tables. Now you can build in a macro that will do that. Just click a button and do it. You can link in these slices into the data here, so you don't have to change the team. Who was the team playing? Was it Aribo that was playing tonight? I can't remember now, was it? I have to type that in. I spelled it wrong. It's not the player that used to play for Rangers. Aribo, that's their situation where they've been 0-0 after 30 minutes. What about 10 minutes? You can see that, and that's where they've been odds on in 25 games. They win 11 of those 25, which is a true odd of 2.27. There's been under 0.5 6 times, which is odds of 4.17. You get a very quick picture as to where there may or may not be value in these games. So I'm hoping that that sets you on your way. Like I said, play with that and make it a lot neater than I have. But the core information is what I've presented to you there, how we can build those helper columns, how you can then use your helper columns to create slices and pivot table. Again, I've very quickly just used home range and score. You can take this to the next level. It's an introduction to get your mind thinking. The feedback we've had from the videos we've done on the Racing Bet data site have been really good. So let's see if the same thing can happen with football, and let's have a good
summer season.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more useful content.